Okay, welcome everyone to our next panel, Carbon Credits, AI, and AgTech. And for this panel, we have a moderator, Marcela Ronquillo. Among many accolades, she's the CEO of Earth Carbon LLC, CEO of New Space Capital LLC, founder of New Space Productions LLC, and the director of EarthOptics Latin America. And alongside her on the panel, we have James Gaspard, who is the founder and CEO of Biochar Now. Biochar Now has created a patented biochar production system and has multiple production sites throughout the world. It's also a UT grad, so we got horns in the house, huh? We love it. Also, David Murr, the chief data scientist for EarthOptics. David is passionate about applying cutting-edge machine learning and data analysis techniques to complex challenges in climate and soil science. He has a PhD as well in science and plasma physics and over 20 years of experience developing advanced analytic systems across academia and industry. And lastly, we have Mike Ruddock, the head of ecosystem for Triangle Systems. He's a serial entrepreneur and pioneer in the blockchain technology industry. And beyond his work in fintech and blockchain, he's also passionate about advocacy for privacy rights, believing that individuals should have greater control over their data in an increasingly digital world. So I'll kick it off over to you, Marcela, to start this panel off.
Thank you, and good afternoon to and welcome to EarthX 2025 to our awesome panelists and to everyone that's here. I'm Marcela Ronquillo, CEO of Earth Carbon LLC, and it's my honor to moderate this pivotal panel, Future Fields, Carbon Credits, AI, Robotics, and Supply Chain Tracking. Today, we explore the convergence of technology and sustainability in agriculture. Our discussion will delve into how innovations in carbon credits, artificial intelligence, robotics, and supply chain tracking are transforming our approach to environmental stewardships and agriculture productivity. We are joined by this extraordinary panel, and we'll begin with structured rounds of questions and then invite each speaker to share a final thought, a personal insight, a concern, or a call to action. If any have any questions, just raise your hand and we'll love to interact in this incredible panel. So I'll start off with James. How does biochar production contribute to carbon sequestration, and what are the implications to carbon credit markets?
Thank you. Thank you for having me at this panel. For those who aren't aware, biochar, I've been in the business for like 15 years. I was in biochar before anybody even knew what biochar was. So what we do basically, and I speak for our company, is we take non-merchantable wood, we run it through a patented process. We've got like 17 patents on our process. We convert it into a pure carbon. And as part of the process, we literally are sequestering about 3 tons of carbon for every ton of, or 3 tons of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere for every ton of carbon we produce. And our carbon has got a half-life in the soil about 17,000 years, according to the government labs. So as part of our process, we create carbon credits. Once again, I've been in it forever. I was in it before there was a carbon credit market. So we took a different path than most people. Whenever we started in the carbon credit market, and some of you may be old enough or remember, let's just say there wasn't much validity to the markets. So we decided to look, and we created a financial instrument. We literally went and got our carbon credits insured. We're the only carbon credits in the industry that are insured by a major financial institution, 3rd largest in the world. So we went that route to get away from the registries. Now, the registries have cleaned up since we went that route. It took us years and millions of dollars to go the route we went. But that's the way we went, so we created a financial instrument that could literally be traded We do the blockchain, all that. In fact, the insurance company does all that behind the scenes. But that's what we did, was the biochar, sequesters the carbon. Then you have to have the faith that it's real. And that's where we went with the insurance. There's a lot of supposed biochar companies. Every day there's more and more popping up. So you just have to do your homework. Let's just say a few of them, I wouldn't buy carbon credits from them, but that's just my opinion. So.
Thank you, and that's very interesting. And we have to take also that it's been 10 years, I guess, from all this, from the Paris Agreement, and so initiating something and having the challenge, but also the initiative to do something. Congratulations, and as
yeah, just not knowing any better and being stubborn. And just keep moving forward.
No, congratulations, because I know it's been a big challenge, but in a small time. Okay, David, how is EarthOptics utilizing technology to measure and enhance soil carbon levels, and what impact does this have on sustainable agriculture?
First, kudos to the folks that planned the session of this day's sessions, because we've gone from kind of regenerative ag, really thinking about the health of the soil, to agrivoltaics, and now to cows and their contribution and the role in sequestering carbon in the soil. And it is kind of amazing how that all ties together. We are a soil measurement company, so we say we quantify soil. Our own internal estimates is we do about 60% of all of the soil carbon measuring on cropland, and probably 90% of all the soil carbon measuring on rangeland in the US. So to some of your comments about the progression of the carbon markets, right? Having those measurements are key to taking a lot of the mystery and not robustness out of the system. And so on the measurement side, right, it's really expensive. And so that's where the technology comes in, is how can we take these direct measurements in the soil and do a measure-remeasure type program, but at a cost that is sustainable given the current not super high price of a carbon credit. And so we use a couple of different technologies to passively sense the soil. So on cropland, we're scanning the field with an electromagnetic induction sensor, as well as a ground penetrating radar, to basically fill in the gaps between where we take direct soil measurements. So our direct measure is always having to meet the registry minimum requirements. And then we have in additional measurements that actually reduce the margin of error on the estimates. On rangeland, it's a little more difficult. You're covering a lot larger scale, so it's mostly direct measure, and it's really about getting the cost of traversing the terrain of a 10,000 acre ranch down. We recently acquired a lab, Pattern Ag, and they do soil metagenomics. And so now we have a whole new set of measurements that we can do to fill in the picture of what's going on in the soil, and how are the practice changes that you're making or what you're adding to the soil really impacting the biology of the soil. And that will ultimately help us do the modeling better, and so that we can project into the future more accurately. So there's a whole range of technologies going from the field and the sampling that we do and the sensing that we do, and then into the lab. Right, there's even robots in the lab doing the soil processing as we intake soil samples.
Awesome, thank you, David. In technology integration in agriculture, Mike, can you discuss how triangle systems in leveraging AI and digital ecosystems to improve supply chain tracking and sustainability in agriculture?
Yeah, I'll definitely try. So it's as you suggested, our whole platform is really focused around big data and financials. We're a registered broker-dealer, so we work with a variety of asset managers to hedge funds to try to get as James kind of described it, kind of a cottage industry into a very mature financial market. And as James mentioned as well, he probably has the best quality credits we'd want to go after. You know, we work with a lot of other people in the industry that it's a lot of legwork to get there. But our goal with that, and especially leveraging AI, is how we can take a variety of different data sets, whether it's soil sample data, whether it's biochar data, capturing, capping a true methane well or something like that. We need to be able to take in all those data sources, be able to understand where they are, match that to a methodology that actually is going to prove how much carbon is being sequestered. So it's quite a big task to actually try to manage all that and orchestrate it. But AI and also blockchain combined really creates an ability for us to validate that at the edge. So, you know, if you're a farmer in West Texas or you're capping wells in the middle of Oklahoma, we need to be able to audit that real time for asset managers to know that the credits they're buying are consistent, it's happening frequently, and it can be audited and it's transparent. Because without that, it's really an annual report that you're usually getting a year later, and there's just not a way to effectively manage the risk on that at a long scale and at scale. So that's really our focus.
Thank you, Mike. David, what role does precision soil mapping play in optimizing agriculture practices? And how does it intersect with emerging technologies like robotics?
And I'm going to expand that to include rangeland, because we are in Texas. So of course, just focus on the carbon side, right? There's some of these obvious practice changes like cover cropping and reducing tillage that are the kind of the prescriptions that have been, available to growers. Of course, you don't know necessarily how that is impacting your soil. That's just a practice that you adopt. In early days, the crediting was you pay for the practice, right? And we really want to get to, you want to actually pay for the carbon stored. And you can't get that without measuring. And so that's, measuring comes in. For the grower, again, the scan technology, we give them a more accurate map. So it's all about a progression from the standard kind of grid sampling that traditionally is happening on ag land, and maybe every few years, to something that's really telling them how their soil is responding to their practice changes. And so with the mapping that we do, we get something that's better than kind of zone mapping, so really focused sampling. I get to reduce the number of samples that you need to take. And then again, with the kind of same traditional nutrient tests, in addition to these metagenomic kind of biology tests, we can really nail down the benefit of the practice change and even tell them where there may be potential gains that they're not accessing. Stop there.
Awesome. Well, yeah, as you know, part of the challenge is the credibility in the carbon credits, because the other big task is actually selling the carbon credits to the companies that are they need them, and I guess each one of you has a precision in what each of your companies are doing. In Earth Carbon, which is a new company, we teamed up with EarthOptics, and also we're trying to register carbon in Mexico. The need in Mexico, as I told you, is a lot, because the government doesn't have incentives or financial help for the states to actually conserve their reserves. And so our challenge in Mexico is actually having all these reserves that are so precious for the planet, land that is totally very important for humanity, And we're talking about the Laguna Madre, the biosphere in El Cielo in Tamaulipas, and all this beautiful land in Mexico. But the challenge, again, to what you all's point is actually registering with the credibility, with the science, and with the AI to actually prove so we can get some help to keep and preserve the land in Mexico. So again, I think this is something where we all have to team up also and get all our resources. As I was reading through James, your company, it's so important, like where we're starting to work, and because of all the richness it can bring to all this land. Now, for a future outlook to all the panelists, what do you envision as the next significant breakthrough in agri-tech that will drive sustainability and efficiency in the coming decade?
On the carbon credits, I take a different viewpoint than a lot of people. I think the next 4 years will be the most incredible market we've ever seen. You've got to remember this incoming or the new administration's transactional. So they're going to be looking to the financial markets and the corporations that literally drive this. I'm also a political science, JD MBA, whatever. I'm a junkie on politics. You may all have missed it, but a couple weeks ago, Lindsey Graham and Bill Cassidy introduced a bill, Foreign Pollution Act, where literally they're wanting to, instead of tariffs, tax all the imports for the difference in pollution. And the way you get out of that tax is you have to buy carbon credits generated in the United States, which is a reaction to Paris because you can't sell carbon credits outside the United States unless they're generated outside the United States. So basically, but the estimated value in that bill of, and it won't pass in its current form, but the estimated value of the carbon credits that have to be generated in the US is $400 billion. So this administration is pushing policies that will basically force the markets, but it's got to be credible. It's got to be real. It's not the hocus pocus stuff we've lived, in the past where you've got a Guardian article out there saying 85% of the credits are fraudulent. So it's important that we're all in this cutting edge stuff, that it's real, because I do believe the next 4 years will make mass fortunes in carbon credits in the US. I know everybody wrings their hands, but you got to understand these guys are transactional. They just don't want to give away the money. They want it for something real. Anyway.
Yeah, and I would actually echo that point as well. We're pretty active in DC and was just there a few weeks ago with the Conservative Climate Coalition, and we were expecting to kind of go in there with our defenses up and ready to pitch our case, but it was widely received that market-based solutions, as James was mentioning, is really what's needed and really what this administration's focused on, and that really is what we've seen from project developers to operators is what they care about. It's optimization at the field level. It's regenerative practices that are hopefully already making them or saving them money, and we're kind of layering a different business model on top of that. But we're hoping that we do see some legislation, because if we do get to a truly regulated financial instrument of a carbon credit, that's something you can put on your balance sheet, you can custody, you can lend for structured products. So the velocity of this asset class from a few billion a year can explode on top of that. So that's really as a financial intermediary is what we're really focused on the next 4 years.
And it's hard to say with you sitting here, James, but my view is that we're still in the early days, right, of carbon. And it might be that there's the different components, like the two that you've spoken to. And from my perspective, I don't know if it's boots on the ground, but getting good at putting these projects together, knowing where to implement them, and to be able to sign up participants who are going to follow through, and being able to monitor the activities that are going on, right? There are a lot of things that I think will still need to work out over the next 4 years, and I fully suspect that there will be more Guardian articles.
Oh, I agree. But we will have, we're about to close a massive funding, and one of our investors is one of the top pundits on CNBC and Bloomberg. So in a couple of weeks, you'll start seeing a different viewpoint on the financial networks. Yeah, it's, you know, and look, science is going to catch up. Science is here. In fact, that's what I take heart. We don't need to invent a silver bullet. All the silver bullets exist. We just have to scale them. You know, I mean, everybody wrings their hands. Oh, we got to invent this. No, you don't have to invent anything. We have all the tools in place to reverse climate change and take the carbon out of the atmosphere. And that's what I take heart. It's just, you got to get through the noise and you got to ramp it up. And you got to save cows.
Scaling is huge, right? We've gone from 0 to 2 million acres measured in 3 years, and it's not been easy.
No, and wait till you get to 2 billion.
Yes, and when we talk about 4 years, when James is talking about 4 years, is that the treaty is, or the Paris Agreement is for 2030, which, well, we're about, 4 years from that date. And the commitment that companies need to make and to buy also internationally. In the case of Mexico, I just want to add, for example, there are companies, international companies like Cemex and FEMSA and Vitro, and they are buying, and everybody's talking about participating and buying, but at the same time, they're buying carbon credits from Brazil, from other countries, and not Mexico. So that's why actually it was an initiative, thanks to EarthOptics, a year ago, that I met James Clement from EarthOptics, and he was the one that told me, hey, Marcela, let's team up because Mexico is so important for Latin America and for this planet. Let's get together and help Mexico offer. So what would you think is more challenging, the offering of carbon credits or having carbon credits, or what is the challenge you think that we have
I'm biased, but it's to stop them from buying fake credits. There's still a lot of that. I mean, there's a lawsuit sitting in the Atlanta courts right now, $1 billion, because one of the companies bought fake credits and their stockholders did not appreciate it. So, but, people like this will solve that problem, right? Keep the fake stuff out.
Yeah, definitely keep the fake stuff out. And I would say connecting buyers and sellers has been a big, 6 years in the process for us of just, there is demand for these products. It's just connecting them with the right people. We found a lot of that in value chain. So if you're a rancher trying to get sustainable beef, like trying to find Costco or Walmart as an end product to purchase those because they have sustainability goals, they have different things they're trying to meet versus trying to sell those beef credits to like an asset manager in Europe that you don't have any reaction with. So I think it's that kind of coordination, as both of you guys mentioned, on kind of the product development layer, but then it also comes in the financing and interactions there. So that's really what we're focused on.
And I would just add that I feel like we need to make it a lot easier for the grower and the rancher. The agrivoltaic panel that was before 130,000 acres, and I went up and asked immediately afterwards how many of those acres are enrolled in a carbon program, and they didn't know the answer, and it's probably a small number, and it's really unfortunate. I mean, that's the real benefit for growers, is being able to kind of to stack, right? You're already adopting these practices because they're good for your soil, or it makes sense for you as a rancher, and there's an added benefit that you're just missing out on.
Totally, yes. And again, in Mexico, we just began, and we were left, we were offered just in the state of Tamaulipas. Gaston here is one of my partners in Earth Carbon. It's 1 million hectares of land, precious land that, could even be, offered in pre-sale because of the richness of, it's a cloud forest. It's the Laguna Madre and all the ranches next to the Gulf of Mexico, because it's in the part of Mexico. And yes, so this is exciting. It's a challenge also that we embrace with a lot of hope to help our planet. And at the same time, what I've noticed is that, it's very easy also for us that are in this to team up and to make it happen. So yeah. I wanted to also, before we close, I'd like to invite each of our panelists to share one final thought, whether it's something we haven't touched on, something you'd like the audience to remember, or even a challenge you'd like to leave us with. And also, let me tell the audience, if you have any questions, we're open for any questions. James, what else? Oh, a question? Okay, okay. I won't forget. James, what else would you like to share as we think about the future of carbon sequestration?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it earlier, that the solutions exist, and people need to quit wringing their hands waiting for a solution. We need to roll up our sleeves and scale the solutions that exist, that are cost effective, that work. You know, if we end up causing an ice age, whatever, you know, we may overshoot it the other direction, but, you know, the solutions do exist.
Mike, from your view across ecosystems and digital infrastructure, what should we be paying attention to right now?
I would say for probably the individual farmers and ranchers, knowing that your data is extremely valuable. I think in the past, like society at large, that we kind of gave that up with social media in a lot of different ways, but agriculture is kind of this last vestige of where the John Deeres of the world and the Cargill has been trying to find different methods to do that. But this is a monetization method that is your data, it's your practices, as we've been hearing throughout the day. Sometimes 8-10 generations have passed down, and you should be monetizing that in a very effective way and not necessarily giving it away. So yeah, definitely focus on that as you move forward.
Awesome. David, what insight or opportunity do you want to make sure we don't miss in the conversation around soil tech and climate?
I get really excited about 100 million or a million hectare kind of size projects, but I also don't want to leave out the small grower, the small rancher, and just to piggyback off what you said, like again. Eventually the challenge will be like identifying areas with the biggest potential gain. And some of that comes from having a long history of what practice did you apply to what soil and in what climate. And then we really will get good at doing these projects. And the last point is that I think like we can do measurement-based projects, right? We can make that cost-effective. I think we do have those tools now. And I think we shouldn't also shy away from that, which I think for a little while we had.
The audience has any questions?
You want me to use that? Okay. I have a question for David, but if anyone else has insights, please feel free to chime in. I'm curious, David, while you're doing some of the soil carbon measurement, do you guys also do any water recycle, water upcycle measurements that go into the fields?
Not normally. There's plenty of projects that have other dimensions to them again, and that's when I say that, it's the difficulty of these projects. It really is getting all the different interests aligned because we're going to go out, we're going to send a field team out to be on the land, taking samples. Let's try to get the whole picture together. And often we get a little bit siloed into no, this is a carbon project, right? And we're only going to take carbon samples, and it's unfortunate. Some of our biological testing tries to fill in that gap and really give the whole picture of the soil with just that one sample.
And just a follow-up question to that, you said you acquired a company called something Egg.
Pattern Ag.
Pattern Egg. Okay. So when you do soil
They
genomics,
merged, not acquired.
got it. You're able to do an evaluation of the soil quality over time, or how does that?
Yeah, Pattern had been focused on kind of row crop acres, and so they really do have kind of a prescriptive. They can look at your soil and basically, given your yield, all the different applications, just a whole kind of prescriptive recipe of what you could do to your soil to get it to its optimal state.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for James. James and I go back a little bit. In fact, he was kind enough to come back to Iowa a few years ago and sponsored an event at a big soil health event that we put on. And unfortunately, we weren't able to move forward with you, James, but I still applaud what you're doing. My question, and one of the reasons that we kind of hit a stumbling block, is the cost for the farmer to put on the biochar. It's not cheap, as I remember. And if I'm understanding correctly, they got to buy that biochar, put it on to get a credit. Am I correct in my understanding? It's been a bit, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Actually, the producer gets the carbon credit, okay? And now we may choose to pass it on or not, but it's just technicality. I own the carbon credits, all right? I strip them from the carbon. Now, since that, the federal government has come out with programs to reimburse farmers to put our carbon in the ground because it's an RCS program, 336, is for carbon sequestration. So a farmer can claim up to $495,000 to put biochar on their ground, and that's each legal entity. So if you're a large farmer and you know, Billy Bob owns that and Grandma owns that, you get $495,000 for each. So the government will actually pay you to put our product into your soil, and we can negotiate on who gets the credit.
Cool. I will let you know that we actually applied for one of those grants from the USDA a couple of years ago, and I was hoping to come and do some business with you. And we went through a hell of a lot of paperwork to get all that done, and nothing happened. And in fact, they then decided, well, I guess we don't have enough to fund it. So anyway, that was just the government work. But those are some of the issues that I think we're dealing with that, and I'd love
on
to help solve
specialty
them.
ag. Now I can't help a corn guy. You just, I mean, it is what it is. But if you're doing specialty ag, we can show increased ROI with the first crop with our product. And so it pays for itself first harvest.
Okay, cool. Well, then I got to stop my farmers from growing corn then, I guess, and we got to get into specialty ag, which I'd love to do, quite frankly, because we do way too much corn for not a whole lot of good other than ethanol. Anyway, I digress.
I just wanted to, my name's Gaston Santos. I just wanted to, I heard the other day here in one of the conferences, I really liked what somebody said. He said, sometimes it's not the message, but it's who the messenger is. And so just based on, some of the negative stuff that as a rancher and farmer, we have seen around this, sometimes the messenger has been the wrong messenger. So I just wanted to just touch on that and kind of see what you guys have done and to go around the negative stuff and the new message, basically, and the right message.
Sure, yeah. I know for us, it's definitely been a learning curve. Coming from New York City and then going to a ranch out in Montana, definitely fish out of water here and there. I'm not putting this suit on or anything like that, but what we found is that no two ranches are the same, and we kind of go in there with that respect to understand the process and what they're going through currently. But for us, we try to give them that, not even financial literacy, because everyone knows their bottom line. Everyone knows exactly the expenses down to the penny of what they're putting into the place. But our focus is to really say, how can we make this a digestible conversation, really, because it is two-sided. It's not just us telling them, saying, here's you get carbon credits. Let me tell you about financial markets. It's understanding their practices at a very root level. And that's been very successful for us, but there's still definitely learning curves here and there, and I've my boots dusted off from college that I put back on to get in the field, so it's been an exciting journey.
I think we have one more question right here that we have time for.
Yeah, and it's a little bit similar to what you were asking, is how, because this is incredible technology, first of all, what you're doing, and I would push back and say a little bit that this is fairly fast moving. I still remember when my dad did no-till for the first time, and the neighbors were like, "Whoa, dude, you're crazy!
Yeah.
What are you doing?" And so how are you messaging this incredible technology to the guy in the John Deere tractor, maybe growing soybeans instead of corn, but so that they hear it and understand it and aren't scared of giving their data to somebody?
No, great question. So really, at first, it was when we were first approaching it, it was a grain sustainability solution, and that worked to a certain extent. But then we really changed our messaging to optimization of the ranch, which everyone can get behind. Everyone's trying to find a way to save dollars or make more dollars. So when you're in like Dillon, Montana, or somewhere in Idaho, they don't really want to hear about like a potentially politically charged sustainability effort. They want to know like, okay, how is this going to last, so I can give this to my kids, so I can go one more generation. And another thing we've also seen, which is kind of out of our hands, was just kind of sometimes the changeover between generations, where some of them do come up with new ideas, saying, hey, we want to put the RFID tags on the cow. We want to go kind of make that next jump to kind of improving from a technology standpoint. So that's a lot easier conversation. Earlier today on the panel, someone talked about sometimes people are saying, that's what my dad did, it's my granddad did, and that's not really a conversation that's ever been very fruitful for us. But if people are willing to listen, we really like to open up the conversation. We work with a variety of ag banks, so we really just have working sessions with them. So we'll try to bring in so people that are already working in kind of the stewardship programs, are already kind of the thought leaders there, and they're more than happy to share their practices of like, here's what I've been making, here's what I've been doing. So a lot of times we just let them speak, and we're just kind of sitting in the background for it. So if you want to get a working session together, we'd love to figure one out with anyone you had in mind. But that's what's worked for us.
Yeah, and also large organizations are starting to push on this. Like a couple of examples, we're working with the group to take Scope 3 emissions out of some of the large retailers, and we're doing it by cascading uses. Like we're approved to go in animal feed, so we can bind up things, and they get carbon credits that way, and then it cascades down into the retailers. And then you've got things like the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake. We're working with them. They want to make it carbon neutral, so they're literally Salt Lake City and Park City is the only ones going to make money off the Olympics. Those because everything's in place, right? So what the state is looking at all the rural counties, so they can basically push biochar into all the rural counties. And in that case, I do give them the carbon credits. We negotiated those away, and they can use those to make the Olympics carbon neutral. So you've got all these different aspects. You have to be open to cascading uses and open to different messages, because the Olympic Committee could, they have a different message they want to push out versus, somebody taking their Scope 3 emissions out of a concentrated feedlot.
I just wanted to add one, as Earth Carbon, one thing that sparked my mind while listening to David is that it's putting yourself in the shoes of that farmer or that community that you impact, because at the end, receiving financial support because of the carbon credit trade is going to impact a whole community. So at that end, to also harvest or have more carbon credits generated in the land, and that's one of the challenges and one of the missions. And so I think that's very important, that we are also in the shoes of every farmer, every agriculture or landowner that we touch. James, Mike, and David, I want to congratulate you for what you're doing, for your incredible contribution to this planet, and for sharing invaluable insights. Today's discussion highlights the transformative power of integrating technology with sustainable practices in agriculture. As we move forward, it's clear that collaboration and innovation are key to building a resilient and environmentally conscious future. Let's continue to foster these conversations and work together towards a sustainable tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and it was a pleasure to meeting you.